Hello, welcome to Veteran Voice. I'm Larry McCullaugh, be your host again today. We've got a branch of the service here that you probably don't hear a lot about, but they're out there every day in our local community working hard to keep us protected and protecting the country. We've got some members from the United States Coast Guard with us today. I've got Lieutenant Brad Hannon with me.
Hello.
And Lieutenant Duane Lemmon.
Hey, Larry.
Guys, thanks. I want to thank you for coming out to the program today.
Pleasure.
I know that not too long ago we had a little party with you all out at the VFW and got a chance to meet you guys and throw some water balloons around and bang on a piñata, and we had a really good time that afternoon. And I remember at the time thinking, these guys are, members of the community. They're working all the time right around here in Paducah and the rivers and the lakes area, and we need to, let people know what you guys are doing out there for the community and serving your country. So let's start with you, and Brad, why don't you tell us when you joined the Coast Guard and why you picked the Coast Guard to go into?
Sure. I enlisted in the Coast Guard in 1997. Up until then, I was in college. I was 23 years old. I worked at UPS, working for a living, and just wanted something different, I guess, And my dad brought up the Coast Guard. Why don't you join the Coast Guard? And I thought, well, how do you do that? I didn't know it was military. A lot of people don't, especially before September 11th, before Katrina. A lot of people were that way. So anyway, it sounded like a good time, and I enlisted, and I got stationed in St. Louis as a non-rate, an E3. I went in an E3 because I had enough college that they allowed me to graduate as an E3. And I stayed in St. Louis a couple of years, and then I went to A school in Yorktown, Virginia, Marine Science Technician School. And what we do is, or what we did, I'm no longer enlisted, but we clean up oil spills and inspect maritime transportation related facilities, things like that. I won't say affectionately known as, but we get ribbed. They call us duck scrubbers sometimes because we're kind of the environmental rate in the Coast Guard. And so I did that, and I was stationed in Memphis for about 2.5 years, and then September 11th hit. But I had an OCS package in, an Officer Candidate School package in, and got accepted to that in late 2002. I went to OCS in New London, Connecticut at the Coast Guard Academy. And out of that's 17 weeks of not much fun, not much fun at all. And out of there, I got stationed in Marine Safety Unit, Valdez, Alaska. Did 3 years up there. In fact, 2 of them, those I did with Duane here. And I've been in Paducah now for the past year, working on the river. So it's quite a different venue than Alaska was. But I'm from Alabama, so this is pretty close to home for me.
Yeah, well, you got family down there still then, huh?
Oh yeah. It's just 3 hours. My wife's from St. Louis, so it's 3 hours to her parents and 3 hours to my family. So we're right in the middle.
Well, being in Paducah turned out well for you then.
It did.
Good. Well, tell us when you joined and how you got to where you are now.
All right, kind of some similarities and differences there. I joined in 1991. Father kind of prompted me to talk to the Coast Guard. I had talked to all the other recruiters at the time, didn't know much about the Coast Guard, and kind of prompting, so finally I gave in, and thinking Dad doesn't know anything, and finally, all right, I'll give it a chance. And recruiter came to the house and just kind of gave a little spiel and disappeared, and I never heard from him again. And so it kind of became a challenge, but also everything he presented was exactly what I wanted to do. And so wound up joining the Coast Guard in '91 and going to boot camp, and going through and coming from there, went to California on a patrol boat and did about 1.5 years on there. Then went to a machinery technician school in Yorktown, Virginia, which is a mechanic for the Coast Guard. Did that, went to a couple small boat stations on the East Coast with the 44-foot motor lifeboats that no longer in service. The 47s have replaced them, but they roll over and rewrite themselves. Then from there, actually did a small stint in recruiting and up to the West Coast, and went to Officer Candidate School also. Had about 11 years in enlisted time. Went to Officer Candidate School and went to Marine Safety Unit, Valdez, Alaska. And kind of ran into the response department up there, they called it, which we deal with all responses, whether it be law enforcement, maritime homeland security or spill response. And from there, I've been here in Paducah for almost exactly a month now. So from Alaska to Kentucky's heat wave, it's been a little bit of an experience for myself and the family. But so far, we've enjoyed it. Great community, and looking forward to being here
Over
for
300
several more years.
Over 300 inches of snow per year average in Valdez. So
No kidding.
quite a
My
difference.
Lord, that's a lot of snow.
yeah.
What do you guys do? Do the oceans freeze up somewhat, or I guess
Actually,
in Alaska this?
Valdez is considered the northernmost ice-free port, so where the pipeline ends. So you got the tank ships coming in there year-round. With all that snow comes the little bit warmer weather than you hear about when you think of Alaska. You think of Fairbanks and Anchorage of minus 30 and 40 degrees below zero. We stay usually above 20s, 30s, maybe a week or two in the single digits, but that gives you opportunity to kind of get out and play in it. And you hear all that snow, and yeah, it's a workout, there's no doubt, but there's a lot of fun that you can have in it also.
I know that when you go to both extremes, hot and cold, I know a lot of people here in Paducah said, "Oh, I can take the heat, I just can't stand the cold weather." And I've always told people, I can put on enough clothes to stay warm.
Right.
I can't take off enough to get
I agree.
cool.
I agree.
And it's got nothing to do with vanity. It's just against the law. So.
I agree.
anyway, tell us about some of the responsibilities that you all have working out at Paducah and the riverways, and if you cover much on the lakes, and pretty much what you all do in this particular area.
I am an investigator / inspector. We inspect barges here, not all of them, but the ones that carry hazardous chemicals or cargoes, and towboats. Security is a big thing. We have a lot of security inspections. But one of the big things for the western rivers, and that's what we consider these units on the rivers, is low water and high water. We have a thing called the water. I'm in charge of waterways management here, by the way, but we have a thing called the Waterways Action Plan. And when certain gauges at certain points of the on the river reach a certain level, it calls for us to do this or do that. For instance, right now we're in not really in low water. It's fairly low, but not quite to the panic point yet. But we have just in our zone, we have 3 different committees we deal with. The Lower Ohio River Ice Committee. We have which is the Ohio River here. The REAC, which is the River Industry Action Committee, which is the Upper Miss, and the Lowmark, which is the Lower Mississippi River Committee. But just depending on what's happening where, we'll assemble these groups, maybe all of them, and talk about what we need to do in order to make sure that commerce flows up and down the river. That's ultimately our main goal, is to make sure that these barges and these boats stay moving. We don't want them stopped. So in high water and in low water, a lot of times the buoys will get misplaced, and then they'll drift off or whatever, and we have to get with the Army Corps and the buoy tender and make sure the channel is properly marked. And if the water's too low, then we may restrict barges from drafting a certain depth and whatnot. So we regularly have conference calls discussing these issues.
So you have to do a lot of communication with several other
all the time
committees, and be in constant contact with them, and then that word gets out to the river pilots.
Correct. Yeah. We have a pretty active group around here, and they do a good job at getting the word out. See, because nobody wants to ground, because once one boat ground and is stuck and blocking the channel, then everybody stops.
It's the log jam.
Right.
Duane, what kind of stuff do you work the same field that he does around here, or
actually a lot of similarities in our job? Work real close together. The whole office does, just to make sure everything flows. Again, we're here to support commerce and do the Coast Guard missions of law enforcement, homeland security, and environmental protection. My job is the response department head, so I deal with the small boats that go in and out doing wreck boardings on recreational boats, making sure they stay within compliance of the federal laws and regulations for life jackets, sound producing devices, operating the way they should. Along with that is the spill responses of anything in the river. But again, like I said, we all work together on obtaining these goals as the Coast Guard.
Now, anytime that there is a spill, do you all work with like DES, or they here out of Paducah Disaster and Emergency Services, or Do you pretty much go out and take care of it yourself, or does it depend on the situation?
No, for the most part, it depends on the situation. For the most part, the Coast Guard works with other state and local agencies, find out who's responsible for it, and then we make sure they do the right thing and the proper cleanup.
So you've got the equipment to contain these spills, I presume?
We do, but generally we have contractors that we call, pick the phone up, and they're on contract with to be at a certain location a certain amount of time.
And they specialize in spills. That's basically
There's
what they do.
Several companies here in Paducah that do it.
Well, I know that they consider, a lot of people call Paducah the River City. There is a lot of barge and activity. I mean, when I first moved here back in '78, I was amazed because I had never seen the barges and the tugboats before, and I thought, man, that's a lot of steel to be pushing through the water.
Yeah, we call it the towboat capital of the world, basically. You've got three major rivers: the Upper Mississippi River, the Lower Mississippi River, which is actually just one river, but we consider it two, and the Ohio River, and they all meet at Cairo, Illinois, and so that's a major point is Cairo, Illinois. Plus, in our zone, we also have the Tennessee River and the Cumberland River to look out after too.
So you've got quite a bit of range.
It's
in both directions.
Yeah, just in
on
major
several
rivers. Those are just the major rivers, and I think there's well over 400 miles there of just major rivers, and then we have other smaller rivers throughout our zone. So it's just I think one of the busiest places as far as the inland rivers go. This is where it's happening.
Now, do y'all get up into the lakes very much, Barkley and Kentucky Lake?
Well, I mean, no, we don't necessarily, but I mean, basically, those are referred to as lakes, but they're actually part of the Tennessee and the Cumberland River. Kentucky Lake is actually the Tennessee River, and Barkley's the Cumberland River. And so, yeah, that's our jurisdiction, and there is commercial traffic that goes through there.
And along with that, any big events going on up there, especially waterside events where we're going to see increase in boat traffic, we'll work a lot with the local, state, and law enforcement to see if they need any assistance along those lines or anything we can help them out with.
So you all coordinate together when there's a big event like, a big, say a concert or something that's going to be held at one of the marinas or something, and there's going to be a big crowd, a lot of boats there. Y'all would get up there and be patrolling around there just to make sure everything goes smooth?
Yeah, and if personnel-wise or something like that, we're not able to actually physically be there with a boat, we'll check with the locals and see what they need support-wise from us, and same thing, if they need support on an event that normally we wouldn't attend, but they're expecting something, a big crowd to come along, that's what we're there for.
This is where you segue into the Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, so that's what now?
The concert the other weekend up the Cave In Rock was a prime example.
I remember back when that was going
on. We had a boat up there. We had a member over at the incident command just to monitor the situation. And on the water, we had no issues. A few boats, things like that. But it was a first-time event. No one really knew what type of water traffic, and especially being commercial traffic, it's just off of the channel there. We wanted to make sure no interruptions to the commerce was going to take place. So worked real close with Illinois State Troopers and Hardin County Sheriffs to pull that off.
So you communicate with just a lot of different law enforcement agencies, a lot of committees. You're just prepared to do just about anything.
The Coast Guard and is probably one of the most unique organizations in the world. I mean, we're military sometimes, and we have all this jurisdiction, but we're also law enforcement. We're also humanitarian service. Our three basic missions are maritime security, maritime safety, and maritime stewardship, which is protecting the environment. And we're a very unique organization, and we have a lot of jurisdiction, and we got our hands full, to say the least.
And to just kind of touch base, I mean, he's mentioned that a lot of people don't look at it as military, but we are military. We carry the same ID cards, get the same benefits, and the benefits is a huge factor in a lot of decisions as far as people make to join the Coast Guard. It's something I looked at. You got the Montgomery GI Bill for to get college credits, and it's over $38,000 or $38,000 right now. Plus, while you're in, things you do, you get credit for while you're in the Coast Guard. So with that is we got the law enforcement authority through Department of Homeland Security, and a lot of our missions are oriented around that, things we do. But again, like I said, you got the same health care benefits and everything of military service and using the bases.
Well, I know that's one of the things that I was happy about when we had the picnic for y'all, the family day. And because it hit me, I thought, with the war on terrorism going on right now, most of the attention is going to the Army and the Marines, and the Navy gets a little bit. But that's when I thought about the fact when I saw you guys out there and you were having fun. I thought, they're a branch of the military too, but you just don't hear that much about them. And here you are every day out there doing what you got to do on the rivers and the lakes. And I'm sure that sometimes it's a thankless job. I'm sure there's some people that hate to see you coming because they got beer. They got beer all over the place, and they ain't got no way to get rid of it.
Never good news when we step on board.
Well, then part of that misconception, as far as a lot of younger folks, but throughout is you hear Coast Guard and you think coast. In Alaska, when I told everybody I was coming down to Paducah, Kentucky, it was what is there? But we're up and down the river system. We have several of our patrol boats over in Iraq right now, and some shoreside security units over there. The unit I was at in Washington, I got to visit Japan and Singapore, Central America, and South America, pulling into these different ports, conducting, the Coast Guard's missions and military missions.
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers. I'm sure we have more than 1,000 people in Iraq right now, and there's only 41,000 of us overall active duty.
See, and that's something that you don't hear about. I didn't know that y'all had anybody.
We've been in every war.
Iraq.
Every war since
quasi-war.
Every war we're there. People don't realize that though.
Well, plus I know that they've got a lot of activity down that they're trying to. The war on drugs is still going on. They're trying to, that's where they get a lot of attention. You see these trying to chase down these fast boats, and the Air Force is trying to cover them from the air, and they're trying to smuggle in cocaine or whatever from wherever they can, and the Coast Guard I know is the one that's on the point on that too.
Correct, and that's with that is you don't hear a lot. Just size of the service, like you said, a little over 41,000 people, smaller than New York City Police Department. So you think of all these jobs and the things we have to do, but we're able to accomplish those missions because we do work with other agencies really well, and Department of Homeland Security, by combining several of us together, has helped that out.
I would imagine there's a lot more going on with you all with the Homeland Security problem, or the Homeland Security Bureau and Division, with just keeping an eye on things. They never, with this terrorist thing, you never know where they're going to strike next. And one of the things they could do is, a spill in a river of some kind could cause to pollute a river with some type of toxin or something could create a lot of havoc
and that's
for a long distance.
That is something we talk to industry quite a bit about, and all over, not just here on the rivers, although we do that. Just Valdez, for instance, we ran many scenarios around that of not only a spill response, because we've practiced that for years, and industries practice it for years, but with the terrorist nexus to it. So something to think about, and you hope it never happens, but it's there.
You're always looking at the different scenarios and what could happen,
Right.
Yes, sir.
and what the response is going to be. In case be prepared for about anything.
And since 9/11, there have been so many different new regulations that passed to try to prevent those types of things from happening.
So it's a constant learning process, really, of what else you got to do next.
Yes, sir. That's and that's it. It's constant learning for us, but also the public of staying up on top of
Now, do y'all do any recruiting out of the office that you've got here in Paducah, or?
I don't know. We don't have an office in Paducah. I think the nearest one is Nashville. But funny you mention it. Duane here, when he was enlisted, used to be a recruiter, so he may be able to answer a few of your questions there.
How do you deal with recruiting when you say it is a small branch of the military?
Well, it's a small branch of the military, which means we have fewer recruiters than some of the other services out there, and it requires people. Part of the effort is a lot of times it's going to require a drive. So it's you can do a lot over the phone, interviews, get general information mailed and things like that. But if it requires a drive to Nashville or St. Louis or Louisville, those are some of the things we put on the people. If you're interested and you can meet the general requirements, well, we'll bring you to us and talk those things over.
But if there are any people in the Paducah area interested in talking to someone about the Coast Guard, we'll be more than happy to talk with people if they want to stop by our office.
Okay, now where's your office
Tully
located at?
Street, 225 Tully Street.
Okay.
We don't generally do that, but sometime every now and then a teenager will pop in, and I'll take them in and talk with them for a while. As much time as I've got, I'll spend with them.
Show them around a little bit. Also on the web at gocoastguard.com is the recruiting website, but it gives general overall information about the Coast Guard, whether you got a college degree and you're looking to become an officer, or right out of high school, and the benefits of joining the Coast Guard, educational, money, all those little calculators on there to help you out and make life decisions.
So they can go on what is it?
www.gocoastguard.com.
And they can get onto that website and just kind of maneuver around, find out what you
Yes,
got.
sir. And that'll also, you can get in touch with a recruiter with the maps and everything, and just get some general information. But a lot of information's on there. But again, stop by the office, and we'll make the time.
Yeah, not just enlisted. I mean, we can talk. OCS is available to civilians with 4-year degrees, and like I heard the Navy gentleman on here a minute ago was that's what a lot of people don't realize when you look at the taxes and the certain pays that you're allowed. People, especially kids that never have really had a quote real job, they don't understand those types of things. How much medical really does cost in the real world.
The other thing a lot of people don't realize is that we have a Coast Guard Academy, just like any other military academy. It's in New London, Connecticut. So if you're looking for a education outside of high school and you're looking to go to college, looking at one of the military academies, that's something to check into.
So do you have the opportunity to travel a lot too then? I mean, if you've got people over in the Persian Gulf in that area now,
sure.
You've got the opportunity to, just like the Navy, you can get out on the water and see the whole world.
That, and especially the United States, I mean, all the time we go TAD. That's what we refer to it as. I think the DoD refers to it as TDY. We've all got different acronyms, but we go all over the country just to different trainings. Two of our major training centers. We have one major one in Yorktown, Virginia, and then we have another one in Petaluma, California. And but all the time we're training,
So again, like the other branches, there's constant opportunity to be getting further in your education.
You get all the training you could ever imagine.
Correct. And with that education we talked about was, we have the Coast Guard Institute, so all that stuff that you do from boot camp on up does count for college credits, and you can apply it, get it on a transcript, and then take it to whichever college you're choosing to get it, put towards your degree. And it knocks out a big portion of your electives and things that you're going to have to do, along with, depending on what classes you have, some of your generals, to get knocked out of the way.
So if there's a young individual that's getting ready to get out of high school and they've got their high school diploma and they're thinking about going into a branch of the service, they should check out all of them and not forget the Coast Guard. That sounds like you've got some very good educational and good benefits.
Sure.
And
yes, sir.
You're working on your retirement now, right?
And 4 years away before I'm eligible. I'll probably stick around a little longer. The Coast Guard's treated me very well. I originally joined, like I said, I enlisted on a 2-year contract that they had back then to get college money, serve my country, and get out. And here I am 16 years later, have promoted up through the ranks, went to officer candidate school. It's something I would have never thought of 16 years ago.
So it's something that, again, since y'all don't get a lot of publicity, it's something that the young people need to consider. That's especially if they like going out on Kentucky Lake and being on the water quite a bit. This would be the opportunity for them to serve their country and get the benefits afterward and maybe make a career of it.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
And that's the thing is, check them all out. Depending on what your interest, your focus. There's 5 military services, and there's a reason for that.
There's pros and cons to all of them. For instance, the Army. I don't think any of the other 4 services can come close to what the Army offers when it comes to education. I think it's a ridiculous amount of money the Army can offer, but a couple of good pros for the Coast Guard is we're a very small service. Every time we go somewhere, generally, have I ever been to somewhere and not known somebody? And when you enlist, advancement, you can advance very quickly in the enlisted ranks from what I found. I made E5 in I think right at 4 years.
That is pretty quick. Well, we're getting down towards the end. We got a few minutes left, and I always want to make sure that we don't leave anything out. Is there anything that you guys want to touch on? And if not, then tell us one of your favorite stories when you were in Alaska together, if you can do it without getting in trouble. But if there's something you haven't touched on yet, I want to make sure we do it before we run out of time here. Is there anything that, Duane, that you can think of that you want to share out there?
Well, again, like I said, I've already mentioned a couple times, but again, just anybody thinking of looking for, at the services, definitely think about the Coast Guard. Again, feel free to contact us or get on the web. But, it's something most people don't think of, that there's 5 armed services.
Yeah.
I don't have necessarily any. Only story from Alaska that I remember is black bear hunting, and a brown bear showed up, and I never went back.
You went black bear hunting?
Yeah.
Ever see any polar bears?
I'm not a hunter. No, polar bears don't come down there. But this brown bear was plenty big.
You just had to make sure you were faster than he was.
Yeah,
huh?
well, I kicked my buddy in the leg.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you run into a bear with another guy,
Right.
all you got to do is outrun the other guy.
Exactly.
You'll have to be just faster than him. Well, guys, I really appreciate your coming on today, and I would encourage people to go to the website and consider the Coast Guard. Like I say, now how long is the boot camp?
It's 8 weeks in Cape May, New Jersey, the only place we have our boot
Okay,
camp.
they got, and then is there an individual training after that?
And then depending on which, of the over 20 career choices you have, you can go, like he said, we have different training bases. We have aviation and different routes to go.
Anywhere from 8 weeks to who knows what, half a year, 6 months. I think.
That's right. I forgot about all the rescues that the Coast Guard helicopters do too.
Yeah,
I'd
we just
forgotten
did
about
our
that.
Coast Guard Day. They announced their 1 millionth rescue, 1 millionth life saved, actually.
That's fantastic. So even if somebody wants to get into an aviation position, the Coast
Sure.
Guard is something they
In
should
the Guardian, the
consider, too.
movie came out, and it was a little Hollywood, but there's a lot of it. It was very accurate. Very accurate.
I have not seen that myself, but I've heard about it. I had to get a chance to settle in and watch that. But Hollywood's always going to do that.
Sure.
They get away with it too. Fellas, I want to thank both of you for coming out today, being on the program. Hopefully the young people out there go to that website,
Sure.
take a look around, and before they put the name on anybody's line, come talk to you fellas first.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Dwayne,
Thank you, Brad.
sorry.
No problem.
mental brain
It's
gone
okay.
there. Thanks for coming out and seeing us today. Thank you all for tuning in, and we hope we'll see you next time on Veteran Voice.